Yo, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at ExpressLRS transmitter module. This is the HiYounger ExpressLRS transmitter module that I got from Banggood, and we're going to be taking a look at the receivers that come with it. Then we're going to go over what you need to do to get your radio ready for ExpressLRS and how to flash your ExpressLRS transmitters and receivers and using the ExpressLRS configurator. There's been a few misconceptions out there that it's really complicated to flash the transmitters and the RXs, but I've gone through the whole setup phase already, and I can say it's really quite easy. Yeah, I was surprised at how easy it was when I've heard quite a few people say that it's a bit complicated. So yeah, we're going to go over all that today, and yeah, hopefully by the end of it you'll be able to set up your radio and your ExpressLRS. So taking a look at this HiYounger module, you can see that it's a JR module that just fits in the back of most radios. It doesn't, obviously, those of you who follow me and watch my channel will know that I run the Tango 2 and Tracer, which is a light or nano-sized module on the back of it. And yeah, there's only a couple of different ELRS modules that would work on the Tango 2, but honestly, you can't. I saw these comments regarding flashing the Tango 2 to work with ExpressLRS and the complications around that, so I just figured I'd go back to my old trusty Tyrannus that I've had for about 4 or 5 years and flashed it up with Edge TX and get it all set up with ExpressLRS. So I'm on the bleeding edge of technology, even though I'm using a really old radio that I've had for a long time. I must admit, having full stick gimbals again, it feels great. It feels so much nicer to hold and to move the gimbals than my Tango 2. So long as it all works okay, I can honestly say that I'm probably just going to switch from Tracer and the Tango 2 to ExpressLRS and back to my Tyrannus. So I got the transmitter module as part of a kit that comes with 3 receivers. You can choose between 3 different receivers as well. One of them is a tiny one with a ceramic antenna. One of them is with a standard UFL connected antenna, and the third option is also with a UFL antenna, but it has an extra chip on board that extends the range of the telemetry back to the radio. That's definitely not something I'm bothered about, because I don't even use telemetry back to the radio, because I just look at the OSD. I'm not flying super long range, so I don't really need that. The standard sized one with the single antenna looked fine, but the one that I was most interested to try out was the one with this new ceramic antenna. This tiny little thing here is the ExpressLRS receiver and the antenna. This tiny little tower thing that's sticking up, that's the antenna. So it's called a ceramic antenna, and yeah, just as a size comparison, this is a prop nut, and this is the RX, this is the receiver. So it's honestly, it's so small. I'm not sure if I might have to just show photographs of that, but maybe you can make it out. But at the top of there is a little squiggly line. That is actually a Wi-Fi antenna. So this tiny little receiver has got Wi-Fi built into it. So you power it up, and after 20 seconds or so, the Wi-Fi kicks in and you can connect to it with your phone or on a laptop or a Wi-Fi enabled PC or whatever. You can connect to it and update the firmware over Wi-Fi. The same thing goes for the TX module, and you can also update the TX just using a USB cable. By using the ExpressLRS Lua script, you can also just turn on the Wi-Fi and connect to it with your phone that way. And yeah, that's the way I'm going to be showing you today how to set up. I personally feel like when you buy new hardware, the first thing you need to do is update it to the latest firmware. It's kind of commonplace with almost every single piece of electronics that you buy these days, is that when you plug it in for the first time and it connects to the internet, it either automatically updates, or you need to update it to get the full features that they're advertised. So same thing goes for ExpressLRS. It's a really fast moving project, so I'm going to update all of those to the latest 2.0 release candidate, which just came out a day ago, and I'm going to take you through the steps to do that. So the first thing you've got to do is prepare your radio. So what I mean by that is that the ExpressLRS uses a thing called crossfire shot. So if you haven't updated OpenTX for a long time, then you're going to need to update to the latest version. There's lots of guides out there on how to update your transmitter and update OpenTX using the OpenTX companion, etc. So I'm not going to do a guide on that. The alternate option is to update to so flash your radio with Edge TX, which is a fork of OpenTX that is moving at a slightly faster pace than OpenTX. So it's implementing quite a lot of more features faster than the OpenTX devs are doing. So Edge TX is fully supporting ExpressLRS, so I figured I'd just go for that. To flash your radio with Edge TX couldn't be easier really. There's a whole guide, and I'm not even going to do a guide on flashing Edge TX because the devs have done an awesome job with the guide. It was so easy, step by step, followed every step. My radio did exactly what it told me it would. Literally, I think I'd flashed my radio with Edge TX in about 10 minutes following the guide. So yeah, I'll put links in the description of where to go to follow the guide and flash your radio with Edge TX. And I'm just going to show you how to update your ExpressLRS TX and RXs. Okay, so head over to the ExpressLRS page on GitHub and download the latest version of the configurator and install that. Once you've installed that, it'll open up like this. As I want to flash the release candidate, you just click this show pre-release, and then you'll get the 2.0 release candidate. So with the HiYounger transmitter, it actually uses the beta FPV 2.4 target. So you just select that and the beta FPV 2.4 TX. Flashing method, I'm going to be doing it over Wi-Fi, so select the Wi-Fi option. Now, when it comes to the options, they're all commented out, so you can learn exactly what all of them are. Honestly, I found that all of them, all the defaults were fine. The only thing you need to do is put binding phase, which basically means that when you turn on the TX and when you turn on the RX, they'll both have this matching binding phase and they'll bind instantly. So no need for pushing buttons or anything like that to make them bind with each other. You literally just power them both up, and as they've both got this binding phrase, they'll bind with each other. In 2.0 there's been some extra additions like this home Wi-Fi SSID and password. That's so that the TX, when you flash it and the Wi-Fi turns on, it could automatically connect to your home network so that you could easily connect to it and update over Wi-Fi that way. I'm actually going to be doing it on my phone and showing you that way. So yeah, OpenTX, this one says to just leave it on, so I leave it on. Basically, yeah, I just leave them all default because there aren't that many options. Now when it comes down to here, if you were flashing over UART, it would say something different. I'm actually just going to build these flashing file a bit like a hex and put them on my phone and use my phone to connect and flash. So you literally just click build and it's going to build the firmware, and when it's done built, it will open up a folder with the firmware inside it. So on I'm going to use my phone for transferring the files. So I'm just going to make a folder on my phone to put them in. And you can see that the firmware is now finished, and we're just going to copy over this one with the name onto my phone. I can go ahead and close that. Now we're going to go back and we're going to change TX to RX. Wi-Fi again. Use the same custom binding phrase, which is already filled out. These things here, don't really need, these don't bother me. Not using KISS V1 flight controller, so I don't need to use that. This is for racing and like makes arming quicker by like a fraction of a second or something. I'm not really sure, but don't need it. Okay, so now that we've got our radio ready with Edge TX and we've got our firmware files ready on the phone, we're just going to go into Edge TX tools, so hold down the menu key or system key and you'll get this screen. We'll go into ExpressLRS and you'll see this kind of screen. We're going to go to Wi-Fi update, click that, you'll hear a little beep, and now the Wi-Fi module is on. So you can see here I'm just searching for Wi-Fi networks on my phone, and it should pop up with ExpressLRS TX module. There it is. The password is ExpressLRS. Now it pops up this screen for me, but usually I can't choose files from it, so I actually have to use the address 10.10.0.0.1 in Google Chrome, and then it works for me. Then I'm just going to choose the file. This is the folder I made, so select the TX folder, the TX bin file, and click update, and you'll see at the top that the bar starts to move. So you know that it's doing something. Here we go, and you can see there in tiny little letters that it says OK. Yeah, so updating the module was as easy as that, to be honest. You double check that it's updated by going back into that screen and into the ExpressLRS tools and checking that the version has changed. You need to make sure that you're running the V2 version of the Lua script, which I wasn't able to get running on mine. So I may actually just flash back to the V1 for now. But whether whatever version of the firmware you're updating to, whether you're going to risk trying the release candidate, or whether you're going to be using the official release version, whatever the last one was, which was 1.2, the flashing over Wi-Fi is done exactly the same way. So you can see how easy it was to flash. Now I'm going to show you just how easy it is to flash the receivers. So you're going to want to figure out a way to power your receiver over, you're going to have to power up your receiver so that it can go into the Wi-Fi mode, and then you can connect to it and upload the firmware to it. The way I've done it is I've just connected it to a flight controller, and I've got the power coming out of the 4 volt 5 volt, which means that over USB the power will come out and power up the RX. So yeah, all I'm going to do now is power up this flight controller over USB, and you'll see that the blue light starts blinking. Then after 20 seconds, I'll just maybe fast forward this bit. So yeah, then after 20 seconds it will start rapidly flashing. There we go. Nicely out, and now I go out of focus. So now you can see that it's doing this rapid flashing. So I'm just going to fire up the phone again. So you'll see here on the phone that it's the Wi-Fi network for the RX has popped up. So I'm just going to connect to that again. Just like before, I'm going to use Google Chrome, go to 10.0.1 and scroll down to the choose file section. And I'm just going to flash the RX with 2.0. Click update and you'll see your little status bar moving at the top. I kind of wish it did a little bit more of an animation to let you know it's working, but it says there, update success, rebooting, and it's rebooted my RX. So it's gone back to just a slow flashing LED. And if I whack my transmitter on quickly, you can see that instantly it turns to a solid blue light, and yeah, my radio is connected to it. So although I couldn't get my 2.0 Lua script to work, so I haven't got the Lua functionality with it, I mean, you only really need to use that Lua functionality for changing the power output, which I do kind of want to do, so I'm going to have to figure out a way of getting that to work. Luckily, my module bay has got a button, and when I push that, it jumps to between the power levels. But without using the Lua, I'm not going to know which one it's on because I can't remember what the lights are. So yeah, that's it, guys. It's so easy to set up and flash. You can see there it's only taken about 10 minutes, and that's with me explaining to you how to do it. Yeah, you obviously don't have to use your phone if you've got a laptop. I just haven't got a Wi-Fi adapter on my PC to pick up the network and connect to it that way. I think that's where that whole connecting to your home network thing comes in, but honestly I think I'd have to use some sort of software to see what things are on my network and then connect to it that way, but I don't really mess around with any of that. So easy enough for me to do over the phone, and obviously you saw how quickly it just bound to it. So updating is very simple. Honestly, it's actually easier than Tracer and the TBS stuff. The amount of times I get told you have to update your radio and your receivers to the latest version so that you can get this crossfire shot, then every single one of my receivers I had to do the whole magic firmware reset on all of the receivers. So I've got to take all my quads apart, pull all the receivers out, hold down the button and make it do all this reset crap. Whereas with this, very simple, very easy, a lot easier than that use the TBS method, I'm sorry to say, because I'm a bit of a loyal fan, bit of a fanboy of the TBS stuff, but you do suddenly realise that you're paying twice as much as you need to for the RXs, and the main reason why I want to try and hopefully get it working well with ExpressLRS working well is those ceramic antennas. The idea of this tiny little receiver with a tiny little antenna, it's so small that, you know, you could mount it on the back of a GoPro mount and have it like so that it gets maximum reception. If it doesn't work with it being tucked inside a carbon fiber frame, if it doesn't work too well right inside there, then I'm just going to mount it on the back of the GoPro, and it's so small, it's so much smaller than an antenna. I mean, it's especially if you're running Crossfire and you're running these big old Immortal T's. Look at the size comparison here. So there's your Immortal T antenna. There's your entire receiver and antenna. You know, it's smaller than the middle bit of the Crossfire antenna. So yeah, size is, I know size isn't everything, that's what I tell everybody, but in this case maybe it is quite a big deal, especially if you're going on, you know, for a whoop or whatever, but if you're going for a small build and want some long range and high and low latency, that's the claim. So I mean, I don't need it to go super long range, as long as it can do a mile or so, mile or two reliably. It's mainly the penetration that I'm interested in, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm going to get one of these receivers in a quad soon and hopefully be able to bring you the second part of this video, which will be, yeah, testing the system in the field. So stay tuned to that, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.